Local 44 News starts now with your forecast first.
Hey, good evening, everybody. We are still cold and still breezy, but our snow risk continues to go away. And even as early as this evening, the chance for any accumulating snow is mainly across northern New York, but we have had a couple of flurries linger overhead across a lot of the area early this evening. But you know what? Skies are clearing now, and now it's time to just get straight up cold again, but not as bad as last night. We do have wind chill advisories in place with wind chills in the teens and the 20s below zero. Actual air temperatures by 6 o'clock on Friday, February 1st are going to be around zero. And then through the afternoon, it'll be a gorgeous day with a lighter wind. And just as quickly as we warm up, we get another chance for snow just in time for the weekend. And right now, a winter sport weekend looks great before a warm up next week. We start now on Local 44 News at 10.
From WFFF, this is Local 44 News at 10.
Well, good evening and thanks for joining us as we wrap up January tonight. I'm Mike Hoey.
And I'm Lauren Maloney. First on Local 44, authorities are investigating a fire in Winooski from last night after they discovered a body at the scene.
Yeah, that fire was called in at about this same time. The Winooski Fire Department says it happened at 103 West Spring Street, a building that they say contains 30 storage units. Fire crews found the body after they put the flames out. Winooski's fire chief tells us the building's location and the cold air were both challenging to deal with.
The initial crews stretched hand lines 200 plus feet to get to the rear of the building through the deep snow. There's a chain link fence around the building. The cold weather's hard on our personnel. It's hard on our equipment. We've spent the day repairing some equipment just because of the temps.
The Winooski Fire and Police Departments are working with state fire investigators to identify the body and figure out the cause and origin of the fire.
An acting South Burlington police sergeant may have helped save a man's life after he was hit by a tractor trailer. Now, the pedestrian was hit on Shelburne Road near McIntosh Ave just after 11 this morning. Police think he crossed against the traffic signal. Now, an officer put a tourniquet on one of his legs, preventing what could have been a serious long-term injury. No word on his condition at this hour. Police say the investigation is still early.
And a fire at the Vermont Farm Show leads vendors and animals to evacuate. The Essex Junction Fire Department says it started just before 11 this morning in a closet that had a water heater inside. We're told that a broom and some other things in the closet caught fire, but there was also a sprinkler inside, and it kept the flames from spreading anywhere else. No word on the cause yet. Today was the final day of the show at the Champlain Valley Expo.
Continuing coverage now on town meetings held by Bishop Christopher Coyne of the Catholic Diocese of Burlington. He has been promoting transparency and communication in the Catholic Church, appearing tonight at St. John Vianney Church in South Burlington. Local 44's Devin Bates was there, and Devin joins us now live in the studio with more on exactly what was talked about. Hi, Devin.
Well, Lauren, Bishop Coyne said he was motivated to improve communication after attending the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops in November, and he took questions from over a dozen people tonight. Bishop Coyne addressed the reasoning behind a Catholic student group being removed from UVM, saying the group experienced, quote, growing pains and wasn't living up to expectations. Several people spoke out about wanting a larger role for women in the Catholic Church, and Bishop Coyne said while his ability to change that is limited, his executive board is largely composed of women and he often relies on them for their input on important decisions. One of the more pressing questions, however, and a large reason behind this town hall tour, is the article that BuzzFeed published detailing decades of alleged abuse at the closed St. Joseph's Orphanage. A task force assigned by Attorney General Donovan has been investigating the claims, and while they're making progress, Bishop Coyne talked about some of the issues they're facing as they do their work.
Where there's sometimes a little bit of a problem is with adoption records. You know, we are dealing with St. Joseph's Adoption Orphanage, right? And when women and families gave up their children, sometimes they said, we do not want the child to know who was their parents. And so those are sealed records and can only be given out by the person who asked for them to be sealed or by a court order.
Now, despite those challenges, it's expected that the group's final report will come sometime this year, and Bishop Coyne also said he plans on continuing to keep an open line of communication after the town halls wrap up, potentially scheduling more of them and holding office hours every month. Live in studio, Devin Bates, Local 44 News.
Devin, from the State House now, Vermont's top cop says he wants retail marijuana sales to be legal. Local 44's Spencer Conlon was in Montpelier, where Attorney General T.J. Donovan voiced his support for some new rules.
We can't tell Vermonters that they can possess marijuana and be silent on how you obtain it.
T.J. Donovan before Vermont's Senate Committee on Judiciary Thursday, saying he supports a bill that would tax and regulate marijuana sales in the state.
This is about protecting consumers and protecting kids, and we need regulations.
The legislation calls for a 10% tax on pot sales, including edibles. Citing the arrest of a Burlington head shop owner this week, Donovan says the black market is strong.
When we're silent, you're going to have an abuse of that system, and thankfully somebody didn't get hurt, but it raises real issues.
With the current plan, the state would issue its first retail license in 2021. Other state leaders are not on board, including Public Safety Commissioner Thomas Anderson. On Wednesday, he said the bill lacks a technique to test impairment and other road safety measures.
I hope part of your consideration will be for the majority of Vermonters that don't use and have no interest in using marijuana or any other drug as part of their, quote, recreational pursuits. Their voices seem to have been forgotten in this debate.
Also concerned, Health Commissioner Dr. Mark Levine, who called the bill unacceptable. Should it not include $6 to $8 million for prevention efforts?
If you're really concerned about it, why didn't we put $6 million into the governor's budget to deal with prevention? Because it's already legal. People are using it.
The Attorney General also doubled down on his support of expunging marijuana convictions on a case-by-case basis.
I think the system has been incredibly disparate in its treatment towards people.
Spencer Conlon, Local 44 News, Montpelier.
Testimony is set to wrap up next week. The bill would then head to the Senate, where half the members have already sponsored it, so it's likely to move on quickly to the House after that. Governor Phil Scott's communications director tells us, quote, he's not philosophically opposed to moving to a regulated market, but feels Vermont should take the time to get it right. That means having a clear plan for the necessary safety and education measures, which includes a plan to ensure we can test impairment and a robust prevention program.
At the same time, the Vermont House passed a bill hoping to diversify what is being taught in Vermont schools. This would require an ethnic studies curriculum in both elementary and high schools. That coursework would include people from varying ethnic or social backgrounds and their contributions to society. Advocates say many history textbooks have gaps in the information they offer. House members hope the bill will help change that. The measure now heads to the Senate.
One final update tonight on the boil water notice in Montpelier. It's now been lifted after being in place since Tuesday. A round of clean test results from this morning showed that there has not been any contamination in the water system. Earlier this week, a water main break caused a mess along Elm Street, shutting down part of Route 12. Right, New England Nation is busy anticipating getting ready with the big game only 3 days away, and fans certainly aren't the only ones paying attention either.
This week went by fast.
It has.
Law enforcement from across the nation gathered to make sure Atlanta is safe this Sunday. Local 44's Ruthie Polinsky is live there right now with more. Hi, Ruthie.
Hi, guys. Yeah, well, the city of Atlanta hosted the college football playoff national championship game just about a year ago, but even still, this week security levels are even higher with Super Bowl 53 here in town. With the influx of visitors in Atlanta, security is a top priority. All 1,700 members of the Atlanta Police Department are active and alternating in 12-hour shifts. Plus, more than 50 local, state, and federal agencies are also helping out.
The federal government uses a ranking system on sporting events or large events like the Super Bowl, and this is considered what's the top, which is called Tier 1, which is the highest ranking you can have below a presidential visit.
Inside the Joint Operations Center, a staff of 50+ people are able to monitor more than 10,000 cameras that are located throughout the city, and specifically inside the Super Bowl footprint.
We support 13 different incident command locations throughout the city. So those incident commanders that are out there on the street doing the actual work report up to Area Command here located inside the Joint Operations Center.
The Rams and Patriots have their own security detail through the NFL, although the city is helping out at the team hotels and practice facilities so the players and coaches can focus on football.
The level of security, you see cops, you see the Army, you see Secret Service, see guys like that. But just the attention to detail, you got to make sure the guys are safe.
And here's a fun fact. A member of the Atlanta Police Department attended the last 2 Super Bowls in Houston and Minneapolis in order to get an idea of what to expect when a city hosts one of the largest sporting events in the world. Live in Atlanta tonight, I'm Ruthie Polinsky. Back to you.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it does, and it also makes sense too. Atlanta's got some experience with this. It was an Olympic host city once, so certainly another grand sporting event, one of the biggest ones in the world. Well, an attempt to get around the law leading to a major pileup. Coming up, why some truckers are getting heat from New York's governor.
And taking it to court, why Lyft has an issue with the New York City law.
Plus, we're still battling wind and cold, and pretty soon, some of us are going to have to shovel again, but not a bunch of snow. We'll talk about that and maybe a melt next week. Your forecast is in a few minutes.